Welcome to Heaven Awaits. My name is Leigh, and I narrate the near-death experiences of those who have died and have seen the other side. These videos are meant to bring hope to a sometimes hopeless world. If you enjoy these videos, please consider hitting the thumbs up, subscribe, and bell icons to be notified of new content. Doing so is free, and it does help the channel grow. Get comfortable, grab a cup of coffee or tea, and let's dive into today's experience. I was 14 years of age. I was a deeply unhappy youth due to vicious bullying at school, the suicide of my father a few years prior, and gender identity issues that seemed insurmountable at that age. Suicide was very strongly on my mind. I had previously taken steps to end my life, but I had been interrupted before I could do so. I was lying in bed late at night, feeling utterly miserable about myself and my life. My thoughts changed to humor about my situation. Wow, your goose is truly cooked, kid. What a mess. I started to laugh heartily, which made me feel different. For some reason, it felt right to cross my arms over my shoulders in a position of repose, a bit like how ancient Egyptians sometimes used to lay a pharaoh to rest. Suddenly, I was no longer in my body. I slipped out and looked down at my body lying in my bed. The world faded to black, and out of this void appeared a colossal golden yellow disc, an oblate spheroid, thicker in the middle and tapering roundly at the side, a bit like an egg yolk on a frying pan. The disc is oriented towards me face on. Orbiting this golden disc were about 40 white orbs, vertically oriented, all in a line that encircled the disc. I didn't know it at the time, but the disc and orbs form seems similar to descriptions of Ophanim angels in the Bible as a ring, or concentric rings, surrounded by eyes. I was not afraid. I felt safe somehow. If I felt anything, it was simply curiosity. I zoomed in towards the disc and orbs form, and as I got very close, I saw that it was itself constructed out of the same form at a smaller scale. The zooming continued in, and recursively, each sublevel was made from the same form. Then, the zooming slowed, paused, and reversed. I zoomed outward further and further in the reverse process, where each of the smaller forms, which zoomed away from me into the distance, was replaced by a colossal version of the same form, which it constituted. This was some kind of fractal structure. Then, it faded to black again briefly, like a long, slow eye blink, and the scene changed. It was the disc again, but now I was looking up at it, and its orientation was oblique, partially angled away from me. I zoomed into the disc again, and now, instead of smaller versions of the same form, I saw a dark rectangular sector on the disc, a bit like one might see on a CD-ROM looking under a microscope. Something told me telepathically that this space was reserved for me. One day, your essence, your spirit, your experiences will find a home there. Nothing is ever lost or destroyed. I promise you that all will work out fine in the end. There's no need to worry, but you have plenty of things to be getting on with. So, go, live your life well. I felt so much incredible love from this entity. The intensity of the love I felt from it is indescribable, and the bliss that I felt in myself beholding, that was beyond ecstasy. Suddenly, I was back in my body again, still with incredibly intense feelings of love, joy, and acceptance. I looked at my alarm clock with a shining LED display. No time seemed to have passed. I lay there, trying to take in my experience for a moment. I happened to glance back and saw that time had advanced by half an hour or so. Amazed, I looked away and then looked back, and 10 minutes or so had passed. I started blinking and darting my eyes around, and every time the clock display advanced several minutes. Slowly, the rate of time observed began to slow. Only a few minutes passed. Soon, only every other blink or glance advanced time by a minute. I basked in the afterglow of this experience, bewildered but deeply appreciative. That does it for Eleanor's experience. Moving on to our second experience of the video. In 1997, I was married and living in Portland, Oregon. Sometime between noon and around 2 p.m., I went into the kitchen to get a cup of coffee. As I began to reach for the coffee pot, I felt a shockwave over my whole body. It's hard to describe, other than a sudden pressure change like you might feel if there were an explosion nearby. I found myself standing in a large open space that looked like a large grassy field. Off in the distance, miles away, on top of a rise, there was a largely white, domed building with a shallow dome, much wider than it was tall. Around the bottom edge, it appeared to have columns. The building was very far away, so it was hard to see the details. I looked behind me, and there was a forest. I looked down to my right and could see a neat garden with perfect rows of small, round plants. I didn't look down to see if I was standing in the garden, but in retrospect, I don't remember seeing my hands or feet. Then I looked up again, and now someone was standing in front of me, about 20 feet away, a little to my left. He was wearing a dark gray hooded robe with a wide belt. I could not see his hands, and the hood covered most of his face. I could only see his mouth, which had slightly upturned corners as if he was smiling. He did not have any facial hair, and from what I could see, he appeared thin. I had the distinct impression he could read my mind. I don't remember any type of communication. Then, I felt another shockwave, and I was back in my kitchen. My arms still extended towards the coffee pot. I ran to the bedroom where my wife was watching TV, and when I opened my mouth to tell her what had just happened, I was speaking another language. A very coarse-sounding language that reminded me of one from Star Trek. I don't think it was Hebrew, which I went on to study later. That does it for our final experience. What did you think of both experiences? Do you think in our first experience that what Eleanor saw was Ezekiel's wheel? I look forward to reading your comments in the comments section below. Until the next video, be blessed.